Thank you, Hal, for sponsoring this video. Studying Canada is getting harder and harder, and Immigration Canada is not making it any easier. IRC has just announced a bunch of updates, and if you were planning to study in Canada, I don't think you will like them. But don't get discouraged just yet in this video. I will give you a bunch of updates from IRCC and I will give you a solution to all of them. So watch this video till the very end if you want to study in Canada. This year, the first and major update is about the financial requirements. As of January 1st, 2022, before IRCC has increased the minimum required funds for a study permit by $10,000 Canadian dollar, and that was made to reflect the current housing situation in Canada. This means that now, as an international student, you will need to show around $35 to $40,000 in proof of funds when applying for your study permit. So basically $20,000 for your tuition fees and $20,000 for your housing. IRCC has also mentioned that they will adjust this requirement based on statistics each year. So next year, are we going to expect like $30,000 or what? But here's the thing, you're not expected to pay all of that money, UPF front. It is just made to show the Canadian government that you have money to study and live in Canada. And the thing is, they haven't updated that requirement in 10 years. So when I moved to Canada 9 years ago, I could easily live on $10,000 a year because the housing situation was fine. My room was like $400, and then I found an apartment for $200 with my roommate, and it was totally perfect. Now, you cannot live on $10,000. You cannot rent anything except for maybe a parking spot or like a garage. So, yeah, you will need to show $40,000 in proof of funds to the government, so they know that you're capable of living in Canada and you will not end up on the streets. The second major update was announced today, January 22nd. Mark Miller, the immigration minister, announced that they will cap the number of study permit applications. In 2022, Canada has issued around 800,000 study permits in 2024. They planning to issue 364,000. That is more than a half cut. And for 2025, they will reassess at the end of this year. They will also allocate the study permits based on province and territory, who then will distribute those study permit quota between the designated learning institutions and to implement the cap. As of today, you will need to submit a letter of accept, basically saying, hey, we want you to study here. But the problem is Immigration Canada just released some major updates for international students. In this video, I'll share with you the latest IRCC updates and give you a solution to them. Stay tuned till the very end if you want to study in Canada this year. In the globalized world, companies seek for new operation strategies to ensure world corporate success. This article analyzes how the cost management models, both traditional and activity-based, aid the planning and management of corporate globalized operations. The efficacy of the model's application depends on their alignment with the competitive strategy. Companies must evaluate the nature of the competition and its competitive priorities. They should then define the necessary and sufficient dependence level on costs information. In this article, 3 dependence levels are presented: operational, decision support, and strategic control. The result of the research shows the importance of alignment between the cost management model and the competitive strategy for corporate success, and confirms the adequacy of the activity-based costing model as a supporting tool for decision-taking in a global strategy. Case studies in world-class companies in Brazil are presented. Abstract. This article refers to service learning as a strategy for the development of practical skills in students of the subject of operations, management of the business administration career at the Universidad Mayor, Real y Pontificia de San Francisco Xavier. Initially, the introduction is developed. where it has been raised as a scientific problem. How to develop practical skills in students of the subject of operations administration of the business administration career of the Universidad Mayor Real y Pontificia de San Francisco, Xavier in Management 2021. Likewise, a systematization of the main theoretical foundations related to the learning level of service learning is carried out. In the same way, the accumulated scientific knowledge on the subject of various authors is presented. Then, the methodological design is developed referring to the set of procedures to respond to the formulated scientific problem and achieve the research objectives. Also, the presentation of the results of the fieldwork carried out in the present investigation is made, data collected from reality, through a survey applied to students, using the questionnaire as a research instrument. The survey was applied to the students to know the current situation.
Remains largely unexplored and consequently unanswered. What constitutes the driving force leading organisms to evolve in particular directions? Obviously, the question whether or not there is a direction, note that we are not mentioning progress, in biological evolution is a matter of controversy. 3rd 46. Elementary intuition suggests that there is a general trend of moving from simplicity to complexity. As Maynard Smith pointed out, the first simple organisms had nowhere to go but up, to increasing complexity over time. Indeed, the same intuition is at the basis of Spencer's law of evolution. Complexity means intra-organismal complexity, as well as complexity in number, sort, and type of organisms, and complexity in the associations of organisms. Indeed, complexity means an association and implies a structured interaction. 9-10. At first sight, this tendency to increasing biological complexity could correspond to the analogous tendency to increasing complexity from the random to the structured that is also found in inanimate matter, probably including the entire expanding universe. As Spencer suggested a long time ago, since living beings only exist, survive, if they constantly adapt to their environments, the driving force of the changing forms of life may be changes in their inanimate environments, non-living wheels, transmitting movement to the living wheels in the universal clock. Changes in the complexity of the inanimate world produce changes in the structure of biological beings. At second sight, we realize that the correspondence between environmental and biological changes may not be linear. For instance, the speed of biological evolution seems to increase during those periods in which there are no apparent major changes in the evolution of inanimate matter. In that case, an effect based on the relative sizes of the clock wheels could be taking place. That is, high-speed evolution in the small biological wheel could be needed to adapt to low speed, but significant evolution in the large inanimate wheel. In microbiology, there are some experimental examples in which very small differences created along gradients emerging in inanimate environments create significant changes in selection and presumably in evolution. 7-8. There is also evidence that evolutionary rate and genetic complexity may accelerate in particular environments. 1142. At third sight,
Most
we
people
could
would
arrive
quit and give
at a
up in my
trivial
situation
notion.
right now. But I'm not most people, and my mind works differently. I won't quit. I will keep fighting and working to produce the performances I know I'm capable of. The article asked whether Murray's refusal to back down from a challenge was doing him more harm than good. World number 49. Murray has suffered 9 defeats in 13 matches since the start of the U.S. Open in August. The former British and world number 1 defied the odds to return from hip replacement surgery in 2019. However, since losing to Daniil Medvedev in the Qatar Open final last year, he has not won more than 2 matches at any tour-level event and is about to drop out of the world's top 50.